everybody, Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I'm bringing you a kind of highly requested one centered around Medicham from, I believe that's all the way back in Primal Clash, and Regirock EX from Fates Collide. Now, before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe subscribe. It helps us out a lot and lets us do more for you guys. Now, like I said, this deck is centered around Medicham, 90 HP with the Omega Barrage. Is that like, that's ancient trait, I guess? It's not an ability, but yeah, the Omega Barrage ancient trait that basically allows it to attack twice in one turn, and that is the entire reason that this card is even somewhat viable. I mean, if you look at its HP, 90, that's mediocre. I mean, I guess it can be gotten with Level Ball, but you have Karina that already searches out fighting types, so you don't really need Level Ball to search it out. One energy, Calm Mind, heal 30 damage from this Pokemon. Okay, I guess. I mean, that's kind of an attack you'd expect on a basic and not an evolution. And then Yoga Kick for 2 fighting energy. If you see 2 fighting energy, you think of attacks like Garchomp with Bite Off, where it does 80 plus 80 if your opponent's a Pokemon EX. So, I mean, for 2 fighting energy, you expect it to do like around 100 damage, right? Nope. With Medicham, you do a whopping 30, which that's something that you would kind of expect on a 1 energy attack. And I mean, even a fighting for 1 energy, I mean, that's kind of like Lucario and Zygarde EX. I mean, that's what you're going for right there. So 2 fighting energy for 30, and it's not even as if this has an amazing ability either. I mean, this attack isn't affected by weakness or resistance, which is nice in some cases, but I mean, it's not an overly broken ability of an attack. However, the Barrage ancient trait really makes Medicham able to do a little bit more damage, and couple that with all of the fighting boosting stuff like Muscle Band, Strong Energy, and now the Regirock EX. I mean, before, Medicham was really kind of capable of just maxing out at 90 damage if you put 2 Strong Energy on there and then have a Muscle Band attached to it. But now, with Regirock, you can get even more damage. Regirock has the Regipower. The attacks of your fighting Pokemon, excluding Regirock EX, do 10 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Well, slap 4 of those down, put 2 Strong Energy on Medicham, put a Muscle Band on it, and you are hitting for a whopping, wait, I need to do my math correctly, 130 damage, and you get to do that twice. Now that is an attack that is worth the 2 fighting energy and all the investment that you put into it. I mean, even if you don't run the Muscle Band on Medicham, I mean, slap a Focus Sash on there, you're still hitting for 110 damage that isn't affected by resistance, so Medicham can knock out, well, I guess technically 2-shot, but I mean, 1 KO in 1 turn almost every single EX, even with a Focus Sash on it, and I mean, of course, 2 Strong Energy and 4 Regirock. But I mean, that card is very, very powerful, and not gonna lie, I actually kind of like the matchup it has with Night March, just because Night March is contingent on getting the better end of the prize trade because they have small HP Pokemon that can hit for a ton of damage. Well, with Medicham, you can knock out 1, your opponent has to send in another, and you can knock that out as well and take a 2 or 3 prize turn in some cases. So this deck is actually pretty solid against Night March, and I mean, just a solid deck in general, especially with Focus Sash allowing Medicham to survive longer, but I'll get to that a little bit later. I believe I have avoided talking about the rest of the Pokemon long enough. Running 2 Shaman, just because Shaman, I mean, I like Shaman, and the line that I'm running is kind of light, only running 2 of them, so you definitely can run more. I just was hitting 19 Pokemon with 2 Shaman, so I really didn't want to overload on Pokemon, especially because you have such a heavy Meditite and Medicham line. So I just kind of went with 2 Shaman. It's been working for me, but I encourage you to try that out on your own. And the way that I'm trying to make this deck a little bit different is increase its, ability to take on other matchups, and that is where Carbink comes into play. Carbink with the Safeguard ability is the ultimate troll. I mean, it basically just sits there and can't be attacked by Pokemon EXs, which Medicham sometimes has problems with and can't get like consecutive KOs in 1 turn. And of course, the Carbink Break, which for 1 energy does 20, which can be powered up by so many different things, just to hit for like 70 damage. That's really, really good. And also, it can power up a Medicham in 1 turn, or even a Regirock if you're hard pressed to find any energy that if you're hard pressed to come up with attackers, Regirock can be used in a pinch. So Carbink and Carbink Break are what I'm kind of using for the acceleration in this deck, and not just relying on Medicham, which, I mean, I've already talked about. It's the centerpiece of this deck and actually is pretty decent in a lot of matchups recently. I mean, granted, not hitting for weakness sometimes can hurt, but, I mean, more often than not, you're using that resistance like on a Pumpkaboo, on a Shaman, on an Yveltal, all of that stuff. And then for Regirock EX, we want to max out our number because we want to hit for as much damage as possible, and having 4 Regirock on the bench allows Medicham to hit for a ton of damage just twice a turn. And then 1 Hoopa. We're running enough Pokemon EX. I figured, you know what, let's just throw a Hoopa in there because why not? We're running 1 Escape Rope and 1 Switch. I mean, that's the line I kind of like to run. Gives you a little bit more flexibility in terms of what type of switching you want in a given situation, and especially because Regirock is so dang bulky, you don't want to pay the 3 retreat cost on it, so having those is really, really, really handy. 1 Super Rod just to get some stuff back. I realized that Carbink Break is contingent on having fighting energy in the discard pile, but I mean, I don't know. I didn't like Sacred Ash being in here just because, I mean, it only got you Pokemon back, and sometimes if you discard enough thinking you'll get them back with Carbink and then you accidentally like discard a Carbink Break or 2, well, you can't get those back, so also you don't get the Carbinks and you don't get the energy that you discarded because you thought you would get Carbinks. This gives you a little bit more flexibility in exchange for getting less Pokemon back in your deck. Running 3 Trainer's Mail. I usually like to run 4, but I had to get rid of one of these just because I wanted to run so many different things in this deck. So 3 Trainer's Mail is still very, very solid in my opinion. 4 of Ultra Ball and VS Seeker, just because these are 2 phenomenal cards that you might as well run 4 of if you have really no better reason to not run 4 of these. I mean, VS Seeker you almost always want to run 4 unless you're like using the Vespiquen Vileplume deck. And then Ultra Ball you just run because it's Ultra Ball and it's amazing. As for the supporters, we were running 1 AZ to pick up like a Shaman or a Hoopa or something like that, and also it can be used to get a Regirock out of the active position if your opponent Lysanders that in and you can't get a Switch or an Escape Rope. Running 2 Karina, we could definitely run more. I'm only running 2 just because this deck draws through stuff very quickly, and I mean, more often than not, I want to just get the draw power as opposed to having like an evolution or something like that. I mean, Karina, you can definitely run more. I encourage you to try to run more, but that's just the line I'm going with right now. 1 Lysander because Lysander is amazing and really helps in some matchups. And then 2-3 of N and Sycamore. I was trying to go for a 2-4, but I decided that one of the Sycamores needed to go to get a second Karina in there because, I mean, this is a fighting deck after all, and you want to use at least 2 Karina in almost every fighting deck. As for the stadiums, I am running 1 fighting stadium just to boost Medicham's output. I mean, in a situation that you need it, 99% of the time you're going to want Skyfield on there just because you want to play a bunch of Regirock down, and in the process you'll need a couple Medicham out there, and then while you were getting those out, you probably played a couple Hoopa and Shaman, so you want to have as many bench spots as possible, but if you just say need like 20 more damage, that's when you can just slap Fighting Stadium down, and also it's useful to counter opponents' stadiums that they're getting use out of, so that's why I'm running 1 Fighting Stadium and 3 Skyfield. And okay, my tool line is where I think a lot of people will differ from me a lot. I'm running 1 Floatstone, just because, I mean, only 1 for Regirock. You could definitely run more to give them free retreat because they are so bulky, like I said. And then this line right here, a 2-2 of Focus Sash and Muscle Band. It is really about what matchup you want to be better prepared for. Focus Sash is for the Night March matchup, and like heavy hitting EXs, that type of thing, gives Medicham a little bit more survivability, while the Muscle Band lets it hit harder. And I honestly could not decide which matchup I rather would just kind of dominate, so I decided to just have the middle ground, go 2-2. I mean, that's something that you definitely should try out for yourself, and I highly encourage you to do so, just because that is probably where my deck would differ from a lot of people, and where that honestly just comes down to opinion and experience. And then finally, I'm going to wrap this up really quickly. 9 energy, 4 strong energy, run around the max possible, and 5 of the regular energy, just because we don't have any heavy energy attackers, but you still want to have a decent amount in the deck. Wow, I have rambled way too long. Let's just go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one, and well, I'm glad I said I like the Night March matchup because apparently that is what we are facing, although it's without Shaman, so that is something that I can definitely use to my advantage and kind of just go from there. I mean, we won't have to worry about a too explosive of a first turn, and wow, we actually start with a really solid opening hand. I mean, we do go first, which is amazing for this deck. I mean, really, there's no downside to not going first. I mean, going second just kind of delays everything a turn and gives your opponent a turn to set up before you can get set up. So you always want to go first with this deck. And, well, okay, my suspicions are confirmed. That is 100% a Night March deck. Trainer's Mail, I think I'll just grab an Ultra Ball right now. I don't necessarily need the Karina right now. I mean, it could be cool, but I also have a Sycamore in hand. And what I can do right now is just go ahead and Ultra Ball. Okay, my Hoopa is prized. That is unfortunate. Well, I mean, that's what I get for running only one of them, so I think I will just grab a Regirock in this situation, shave my Shaman. Save my Shaman for later. Wow, shave my Shaman kind of sounds dirty. But anyway, I want to save my Shaman for, well, an instance like this where I don't really have a draw supporter. So what I think I'm going to do, yep, just Trainer's Mail. Well, I mean, I guess I do have a draw supporter now, but alright, I'm going to just attach an energy to the Meditite. I didn't get a Focus Sash, so I am not going to risk attaching anything to the Carbink. I mean, I have the Strong Energy, just in case next turn, like, somehow I survived this turn, and I can just go ahead and play that down onto the Carbink to knock out the Mew. I mean, assuming it doesn't have, like, a Fighting Fury Belt or something on it. And, yep, okay, Night March, completely confirmed. I mean, you saw the Mew, you saw the Unknown, you saw that it was a Psychic Electric deck, so I mean, what exactly else could it be? But, I mean, the Lampins being discarded was just the complete confirmation we needed, and see, this is why I think Night March, well, I mean, it's not really that unique of an opinion. I mean, Night March has to have Shaman. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Night March is just not that good if it does not have Shaman, because you don't get these explosive turns, because, I mean, right there, my opponent could have Ultra Balled, gotten a Shaman, played it down, gotten 5 more cards in his hand, and then played the Sycamore later. But luckily we don't have to worry about that, so pretty much what my opponent has at this point is what he's going to be dealing with. I mean, apart from potential, like, roller skates, but I mean, that's only 3 cards as opposed to a bunch more. And okay, we see the Delinquent. That could be kind of annoying. Well, alright, he gets rid of our Skyfield, but I kind of wanted to play mine right there just because, well, I mean, obviously I thought I had the Hoopa in the deck, but I wanted to force him to play the Dimension Valley so we can start that little Stadium War. And alright, my opponent attaches to the Mew. He can definitely Night March, knock out the Carbink, but I think at this point I'll actually get 2 knockouts guaranteed next turn. And what? My opponent just goes for an encounter? That is weird. So, alright, I'm really not sure why my opponent didn't just Night March. I guess he didn't think I had anything, but I still don't know why you wouldn't Night March immediately. And alright, I can work with this. I can definitely work with this, because what I can do actually is knock out the Mew with this Carbink. I mean, assuming I ever get to attach the energy, evolve into Medicham, and then, don't want a Sycamore. It's kind of risky. I could just Karina, get the guaranteed Carbink break. Screw it, we're going for it. There's 2, and okay, we do get a means of getting a Carbink break. That was kind of close, but, I mean, it's not a big deal. So let's just go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of another Fighting Energy, and probably the N, just because I have the Sycamore in my hand. Grab the... No, I don't want to grab the Shaman. Yeah, Carbink break, to be able to play that down onto my Carbink, to be able to accelerate energy onto my bench. And okay, my opponent just forfeits. That was a really good first turn for us, and a really bad one for Night March. So, I mean, that was really just kind of awesome for us. I mean, I didn't get to show off why this deck does so well against Night March, but whatever, that's fine. We'll take the win, and we'll just go ahead and try to find another one. Alrighty, we have found another one, and wow, it looks like this versus ladder is just full of Night Marchers today, so let's hope we get a go first. Oh boy, that's gonna be bad if we don't get a go first against Night March. I mean, maybe he'll let us go first, which is, I guess that's fine. Maybe, please. I mean, I'm not anticipating my opponent letting us go first, just because, I mean, even with Night March, I mean, a lot of the time you do want to go second just so you can get that first knockout, but when I play Night March, oh, okay, I guess we do get to go first, but I was just saying, like, Night March, the only time where I guess choose to go second is against a deck where I know I have the type advantage, like an Yveltal deck or something like that, to where he would be able to knock us out turn 1 or something like that, and where I wouldn't want the prize exchange for my opponent to be able to potentially get a knockout on us immediately. But alright, we do get a mulligan by my opponent, and if I do not draw something, I am going to lose this battle pretty darn quickly. Okay, that is fine. Alright, I won't lose first turn. Get out of here, Windows 10. And then I think I'm just going to Karina. Well, I have to. Karina, I don't exactly have another choice. Oh, wow, voice crack there. Let's grab another Meditite, because I'm going to be real, this one's probably going to go down this turn. And then a Focus Sash, just maybe try to survive the turn, see what happens. I'm going to play the Meditite there, Focus Sash there, the regular energy onto it, as opposed to the one on the bench, just to, like, kind of force my opponent. I guess what I kind of shoulda, well, kind of shoulda. I guess what I should have done is maybe attach that energy to the Meditite on the bench, I mean, not put all my eggs in one basket, so to speak, but, I mean, on the bright side, I do have a VS Seeker for a Karina next turn, to where I'll be able to grab a Shaman. I'll be able to get a Medicham guaranteed, and, yeah, of course, my opponent starts with the startling Megaphone. Well, okay, this is looking bad. Really wish I'd attached that energy to the Meditite on the bench, but I mean, you know, hindsight is always 20/20, and so, okay, this one even has Shaman, so we are going to be kind of up a creek in this battle, it looks like. Slightly unfortunate, but you know what, I think we can definitely persevere, because as long as we're able to get set up, I think as soon as I get a Carbink Break going, Carbink Break will actually be able to take KOs on the Night Marchers while powering up a Medicham in the back, so my opponent can't just focus on the Medicham. He will have to take out the threat at hand, and okay, it looks like he's running a Bronzong version of Night March. That's pretty interesting. But like I said, if I can get going, if I can get a Medicham powered up, I can take 2-3 prizes a turn, depending on like what he has on his bench and if he decides to sack Shamans or something like that. So I think we will be somewhat okay depending on how the Lysander game is with my opponent, because if my opponent's Lysander game is just perfect and it couldn't be possibly better, then I don't really have much of a chance, just because he'll be able to take the inevitable EX knockouts that I have to put on my bench. And alright, well, there goes that Meditite. That is unfortunate, and I don't even have a Carbink to potentially evolve it, so oh boy, this is going to be a pretty rocky battle. Well, I get another Karina, just what I wanted. What I can do is grab another Meditite, and then, I don't know, an Ultra Ball. Probably want to grab an Ultra Ball just because I want to grab a Shaman to potentially get some more cards out there. I don't know. That's what I'm going for. And alright, let's go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of the Switch and the VS Seeker, because I can otherwise play my hand down completely to grab. If I had a Skyfield, I'd grab the Hoopa, but because I don't have the Skyfield, I have the Fighting Stadium in play, I'll just grab the Shaman. I mean, like, that's one of those things where, I mean, it's kind of coming back to bite me, but I still stand by my decision, and I'm actually not going to play the Medicham down just because I want to get a knockout on the Joltik this turn, and Meditite is able to do that while getting only one prize, and kind of hoping, okay, I don't have a way of getting a Carbink out. That's not good. But what I can do is go ahead and slap a Muscle Band onto the Meditite, just, I don't know, keep the threat active and force my opponent to deal with it, as opposed to trying to take knockouts on EXs on the bench, because if my opponent does take a knockout on an EX, I can actually immediately retaliate with a Medicham taking 2 prizes next turn, or even 3 depending on what my opponent does. So I mean, I'm not in the best position. I would rather have a Carbink powered up, that way I can power up a Medicham in one turn as opposed to having to manually attach twice. But I mean, I guess that's not too horrible. And wow, okay, my opponent, what? My opponent just Ultra Balled for a Joltik. Does he not have any more Shaman? Never mind, okay. He has a VS Seeker for a Sycamore. I mean, I thought he discarded to teammates, but he must not have, because if I were him, I would have just teammates for a... Oh, is that the proper word? Teammates? Used teammates for a DCE and then like a Sycamore for next turn or something like that. But, I mean, that's fine. I mean, my opponent still probably got the DCE anyway. Let's be real. He only has 16 cards left in his deck. So, odds are pretty high that he either got a DCE or a regular energy or something to be able to attack. And, man, my opponent is just thinning his deck. Jeez, that is... So much thinning is going on right now. We might even win by deck out if I can get some focus ashes or something like that. But for the time being, I just had to let my Meditite get absolutely blasted by an incoming Night March from a Mew, which will do super effective damage and just kind of kill 30 rows of Meditite at that point. But wait, what? Oh, yes, this is awesome, because what I can do is go ahead and play the Regirock down, play the Medicham, hopefully down there we go, play the Fighting Energy there, go for the Skyfield to get rid of my opponent's Dimension Valley, and then I think, actually, you know what, do I want a Sycamore? Yeah, screw it. I should have a Carbink or something in there. And there we go. Finally get a Carbink, play a Focus Sash onto that Meditite, have it ready to go later. Go ahead and play that Carbink down, play the Regirock down, and then take 2 prizes guaranteed this turn with a Yoga Kick to take out the Mew for 120, take 1 prize there, get another Regirock. You know, it's too bad you can't interrupt the, I guess... Is this like a battle phase, or what is it called? I mean, I know it's called attacking, but if you're a Medicham and you're doing 2 attacks, then that's technically the battle phase, I would guess, because you're not just attacking once, you're attacking multiple times, and you can't play any other cards in the middle of that. So my opponent actually decides to promote the Shaman. I do not agree with that at all, because now I'm just 2 prizes away. I am literally 1 Medicham turn away from winning. That's all it takes, is just Medicham attacking for 1 turn, knocking out 2 things. I mean, if he had just decided to go for a regular Night Marcher, then I would have 3 prizes left. I mean, he would really still kind of have somewhat control over what's going on, just because he would have like he would have his Night Marchers still on the bench. He would be I would be 3 prizes away from winning as opposed to 2, and my opponent would have a chance to win. But now I think I just win at this point, just because, well, I'll have a Carbink Break active that can be knocking out Night Marchers in 1 hit because of all the Regirocks I'll be playing, and I can even get another Medicham powered up in the background. So I mean, I'm just in a phenomenal position right now, and this is exactly why I think this deck has a good matchup against Night Marches, for reasons exactly like this. And yeah, I'm just making sure I have enough damage on the board to be able to knock out the Mew. Don't want to go for Strong Energy or regular. Yeah, regular. I'll still get the knockout. And I'm actually going to hold on to the Sycamore just so I can put another Fighting Energy somewhere. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should have played the Sycamore, but it really doesn't matter that much at this point. I kind of want to have the Sycamore in my deck just in case my opponent goes for an N. I mean, I guess that's kind of counterintuitive somewhat, because you could also thin your deck by going for the Sycamore, getting rid of cards that you wouldn't want, but I don't know. I'm just going to kind of go for it at this point. I think I'm in such a good position. Like, I have 2 attackers ready to go. I have a Carbink Break that can knock out anything save a Shaman, and then I have a Medicham almost guaranteed next turn. I mean, unless something weird happens, like, I guess not weird, but an N to 1 would really set me back, especially if I couldn't draw well off of that. But I mean, even then, Meditite would be able to take a knockout on a Night Marcher, which I mean is kind of weird, because you're talking to Meditite right here, but with all the Regirocks, I mean, my Meditite, even though it only hits for 20 base damage, I'm hitting for 100 damage at this point just because of the Regirocks and the Strong Energy. Oh, and I have a Focus Sash on it as well. So I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's any way my opponent can keep me from not getting the win this turn. 'Cause I mean, even if he like Lysander's the Regirock active, well, guess what? That means I still have the Sycamore in my hand, and okay, I just win at this point. Because I mean, even Meditite can just take the game at this point. I mean, my opponent, well, I guess Fighting Fury Belt kind of is a bummer, but what I can do, I mean, I can just guarantee myself the game at this point. I mean, I could knock it out if I just attach the other strong energy, but why even bother with potentially bad math from Styx, which I am more than capable of doing. We all know this. I'm just going to go for as much overkill as possible. 3 strong energies onto the Medicham, 4 Regirocks, doing a whopping 130 damage, and if I needed to, I could just do it all over again, and we take the win against Night March, which is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, this deck, like I said, doesn't have a bad matchup against Night March. It's really kind of cool, but I mean, I don't necessarily think it's super competitive. I think it's just kind of an anti-meta type of thing. Either way, it is really, really fun, and I encourage you guys to try it out. But yeah, that'll be it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is Styx, signing out. Why not? See you guys.